I'm Anna Colucci and I'm from Italy, and I'm doing my master in environmental management. Today I'm going to give you some easy advices that will allow you to reduce your personal carbon footprint. Back in 2013, I graduated with a bachelor in biology. I learned about climate change, and I was full of hopes and projects to make a change in this world. However, I soon realized that the government in Italy was not making the right choices that would have allowed a good future for us young people. This is what made me make the decision to move overseas, to improve my education with the hope to find myself in a more constructive environment. Unfortunately, it didn't take long to realize for a second time that it wasn't just Italy that had a government that didn't care about the future of the planet. Fossil fuels and oil and gas extractions are the industries that are mainly blamed for climate change. To a certain big extent, they certainly do. But when I started thinking about everyday actions that I could do to reduce my carbon emissions, I felt highly frustrated because those industries often dominate part of our lives that are very hard to tackle and change. For instance, I suppose that very few of us already have the financial ability to decide whether to have solar panels on our roof or get electricity from coal. Apart from those two industries, food production accounts for a substantial land use and greenhouse gas emissions. Up to 55% of Australian territory is devoted to grazing. Various debates have argued that the lowest percentage of greenhouse gas emission caused by livestock could be around 10% and up to 51% for the highest. The fifth IPCC report recognizes that 14% of all greenhouse gas come from animal farming. As you probably know, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrogen oxide are the three main greenhouse gases, and each of them has a higher or lower ability to absorb heat. On a global scale, 37% of the anthropogenic emitted methane in the atmosphere comes from the cattle entering fermentation. In other words, they're birds. It is important to remember that methane is a greenhouse gas 23 times stronger than CO2. Manure, in addition, is responsible for 65% of all nitrogen oxide emissions. This greenhouse gas is 290 times stronger than CO2. When I came across this unbelievable data, I realized that the choices I was making every day had an impact on climate, and I felt in a way relieved that I could find an active role in this battle. I decided to tackle three sides of my diet. I started buying local produce, I reduced drastically my meat consumption, and I learned to buy fruit and vegetables in season. I was once told that 90% of the bananas that we find in the supermarkets come from North Queensland. If I buy a kilo of banana from North Queensland, to offset the emissions caused by the transportation, I would need 2 mature trees a year. If we think that in Sydney there's around 2.5 million households, this would mean 5 million trees just to offset the emissions from the transportation of bananas. Eating local also means eating in season. Hence, in addition to the reduction of emissions from transportation and refrigerations, there are 4 main reasons that motivated me to change my lifestyle. Flavor and nutrition. As only picked when fully ripened, the taste, texture, and nutrition of seasonal produce is much better than out-of-season items. Thanks to the sun and oil, the concentration of antioxidants is much higher compared to the produce that is picked earlier to be transported. Antioxidants are known for reducing risk of heart disease and certain cancers, among other things. Economy and community. As very abundant, seasonal produces are cheaper. Buying from farmers' markets helps the local community and allows you to rediscover the provenience of the food you're eating. A real example of how buying local helps the local community can be taken last winter, when Macquarie University, together with Harvest staff and the Salvation Army volunteers, got together to save 800 kilos of strawberries that had been rejected from the supermarkets because of small black spots caused by the cold weather. This food would have been trashed otherwise, but instead 1,500 jars of natural homemade jam has been made. This example taught me how it is possible to go against a system that doesn't give value to food when it does not match the standards. The revenues coming from the jam selling completely remained in the community, and in that case specifically to the strawberries farmers. Environment. Seasonal fruit usually does not need additional help to grow, as it matches the temperature and weather of that period of the year. Eating local and in season often means eating pesticides and spray-free produces. Home cooking and creativity. Buying fresh produce motivated me to reduce waste and learn new recipes. The other day, for instance, I bought kale, and to avoid wasting, I decided to make homemade pesto with my brother. The result was clearly awesome. Health, creativity, and community engagement are just few of the benefits you can receive when changing your habits.
As introduced previously, a huge amount of methane and nitrogen oxide emissions come from livestock and the production of their feed crop. The additional change I made was indeed reducing drastically my meat consumption. The production of beef and lamb in particular requires an incredible amount of feed and water. It is enough to think that 10 kilos of feed are required to produce only 1 kilo of beef, in addition to 40,000 liters of water. The reason I felt so motivated to reduce my meat consumption, specifically red meat, was mainly connected to the reduction of environmental damages, such as deforestation, caused by the cattle industry. By eliminating beef and lamb from our diets, our carbon footprint halves, because much less land is needed, and because ruminants, compared to chicken and pork, produce a huge amounts of greenhouse gases due to their peculiar digestive system. As it is possible to see from this histogram, shifting from a meat lover diet to a no beef diet reduces our carbon footprint by almost 40%. Food production is having a huge impact on our climate. Changing our habits by eating locally, in season, and reducing meat consumption benefits our health, lifestyle, our local community, and is indeed more ethical. It is not always necessary to wait for big decisions from the government. Deciding to change simple characters of our lifestyle is, I believe, a step towards a more just world where we waste less and care more about the others. Thank you.